Dean of Nanyang Business School Graduate Studies, Prof. Chong, Assistant Dean of Nanyang Business School Alumni Relations, our distinguished speaker, Dr. Ha Yang, esteemed guests, alumni, and fellow students. Good evening again. I'm Amanda. I'm currently a student pursuing Nanyang Waseda double degree MBA with my 13 batchmates. We just arrived in Tokyo 1 month ago to start our final term in Waseda University. And I have to say the past month was all about immersing ourselves in the Japanese culture. Sakura by day, izakaya by night. And I do have a pro tip if you want to master the Japanese geography or just expand vocabulary. Just to drink sake one by one from different prefectures. To help you with all the geographic and names and vocabs. And tonight we are here, not for sake, obviously. We are here for the panel discussion entitled Transforming Healthcare with AI, Empowering Patient and Enhancing Care. As AI continues to shape the future of healthcare, we will hear from our distinguished speakers on how AI is being harnessed to enhance patient care, improve outcomes, and create more efficient healthcare system. There will also be a Q&A session by the end of the discussion, so do feel free to prepare and ask your questions. Please also note that today's session will be recorded for archival, educational, and marketing purposes. NTU may use part of the recording across its publications, digital platforms, and promotional materials. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to invite Prof. Chung Lai Hong, Assistant Dean of Nanyang Business School Alumni Relations, to deliver her welcome remarks. Welcome.
Thank you, Amanda. Let me try my Japanese. Minasama konbanwa. I think that means good evening, everyone. Nonetheless, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you to this event. Welcome our alumni, our students, and our colleagues to this evening's event. I want to start with the good news. I think a lot of you are MBA alumni, and we are proud to share that Nanyang MBA, under the guidance of our Prof. Goh right here, has recently been ranked as number 22 globally. This is an awesome achievement. And not just for the MBA, but I think for all the hardworking, the students, alumni, faculty, and staff who make this possible. So thank you to each and every one of you for making that happen for us. So it is a great honor for the MBA to be ranked so high globally. And of course, it means that in Singapore, we are way ahead of everyone else. And we won't mention who everyone else is. As always, I'm delighted to be here in Tokyo. And Facebook reminded me just recently that it has been a decade since I had the pleasure of being here on my sabbatical for 4 months at Waseda University. And since then, I feel like I'm a homing pigeon, that this irresistible call calling me back here once in a while. So you see me back in Tokyo and Japan at least once or twice a year, because it's just been a love relationship that started 10 years ago. So I'm very happy to be here. And allow me right now just to give a bit of updates about the alumni community. And as I've shared about the global MBA rankings, our overseas alumni plays a very important role to help us to strengthen our position globally. We are known not only in Singapore, but we have to be known globally. And so we thank all alumni and those of you in Japan and other parts who allow us to, through your careers, through what you're doing, to spread our values, our reputation, and our impact wherever you are. And since about 2021, NBS Alumni Office has been taking great effort to strengthen our global alumni network. Today we have about 50 alumni representatives from the business school in over 25 countries. And with their help, they organize events. Obviously, we can't be at every event like this. We have limited budgets, so we depend on our alumni reps to network and create events for their own community there. And so we like to thank them for doing so. To our alumni here in Japan, I'd like to encourage you to continue to be part of this network, to be involved in all that's happening here. Our speaker, of course, is also the Vice President of the NTU Alumni Association in Japan. And so please support him and the committee when they are young. Yes, he's an NTU alumni, and please support him and the President Tomo, our NBS alumni, as they organize events. We thank them also for doing all the work here. And as alumni, we welcome you to volunteer with us, and I'm sure you want to pay it forward in some way or other. So whatever way it is that you feel that you want to contribute, speak to me or speak to one of my alumni team, and we'll be happy to connect with you. We always need internships. Always, always. I'm doing a call for my colleague who is here so that you can talk to her, Linda. Linda is a director of our careers services unit in NBS. And so if you have internships for the undergraduate or for our graduate students, please reach out to us. We also always need mentors. We want you to pass on your values, your aspirations, your guidance to the next generation. So those are two concrete ways you can contribute, but there are many, many others. So whatever it is that resonates with you, come and speak to us. And so we are here for you. And what alumni relations and what NBS is about is really about encouraging continuous learning, like today's platform, building connections with one another, and building the networks. And so in today's event, we have an opportunity to invite faculty, invite alumni leaders, invite sometimes industry speakers to share their experiences with our alumni and the broader NTU family. So with that, I'd like to invite my dear colleague. He asked me not to introduce him because he's already very well known, Prof. Goh Kim Hwat. I added that myself. He's Associate Dean of our graduate programs and known to many students as well as alumni. He's a great researcher, great academic in many ways. His research interest includes using analytics, right? I'm an accountant, so I don't know any of these things. Using analytics and economics theories to model human behaviors, especially in the healthcare centers. So we are delighted that he can be here to moderate the session. And of course, our speaker is our NTU alumni, as I already mentioned, also VP of our Alumni Association here. And he's, let me make sure I get this right. Dr. Haiyang is Chief Information Officer and Head of Commercial and Medical Technology at GSK Japan. And so he'll be sharing his insights on this very important area of using AI in this healthcare center. So I'll give the rest of the time to them. So I invite my esteemed colleague, Kim Hwat, and our dear alumni to also please come to the stage right now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Nice to see very familiar faces here. I think if I've seen students from that I've taught in undergraduate, MBA, EMBA, and so forth. It's nice to see you all here. And I think this is the second time we are doing this. Last year, some of you might be here, and if you are here, that's welcome again, right? To be back in this venue as well for this event, right? So I think today's discussion that we have, it's about healthcare and the role of AI in it. So like some of you might not be aware, I think in the last 2 years or so, NTU, in terms of the top management of the university, there were some changes, right? We do have a new vice president for research. He was previously the Minister of Health for the Netherlands, right? And our provost, our incoming provost, is also in the biomedical sector. So within NTU itself, there's a lot of great work being done in the area of research. But having said that, I was in the talk, I heard a talk on this topic about a few days back. Personally, myself, I work in the area of healthcare with multiple hospitals in Singapore. And the talk was given by our Vice President of Research, and he gave a quote because he used to run the healthcare services in the Netherlands. And he had these very interesting statistics. Right? In the Netherlands, like many countries like in Singapore as well, in Japan as well, I think the average age, life expectancy is increasing, right, which is a good thing. Right, but one of the things that happens when people start to age is there's this thing called the morbidity hypothesis. I believe many of you in the healthcare sector, you know that the last 10 years of the health of the age of a person takes up most of the medical resources, right, which is actually can be very taxing for a country. So for a country like Netherlands, right, I think currently they have like every 8 person, right, one of them is in the healthcare sector supporting the aged, right, and they are expecting in the next 20 years or so, or maybe less than that, maybe next 10 years or so, I cannot remember the exact number of years. You have like 1 in 5 person taking after in the healthcare sector. That means you have 20% of your labor force looking after the rest of the people, which is actually a very big problem, right? So I think one of the role I think we can see is probably the use of technology, AI, which is the topic that we have today. And of course, when you can create efficiency and potentially gains in it, and therefore we can sort of reduce the burden of healthcare due to aging. So today we are very delighted to have Dr. Peng, right? Hayang, he's an alumni of NTU. Technically, I'm also an alumni of NTU because I did my undergraduate in NTU. So, having said that, but of course, yeah, it's a good thing because I think what events like this is for the alumni to sort of return and give back to the community that we have. So back to Dr. Peng. It's a very esteemed, has a stellar career, right? He graduated, I think, with PhD in physics, NTU. Right, and he worked here many years, and I will probably outline the format that what we're going to do today. So he will spend about probably 30 minutes or so. He has some slides. He want to talk a little bit about the topic of AI in healthcare, and then we open to the floor for questions. I will moderate the questions, and of course, I will also manage the time, right, to make sure that we are all good in terms of time. So that's my phone, right? Earlier, someone was asking me that, I think Michelle was asking me, should we have a timekeeper? I said, no, I have my cell phone. I can see the time from here. All right, so over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Go. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity for me. So I think this is the second time I joined this event in Tokyo. First time as an audience, sitting over there, yeah, learning from our professor from business. And then at that time, I was thinking, what inspired by the talk, right? It's like how, as an alumni, what I learned from the professor is like, most of the, one characteristic of the best university is they have a very, very strong network of alumni globally, okay, globally. So I've been thinking, well, I'm sitting in Tokyo, okay, and then I studied in Singapore for 4 years, and then I left Singapore immediately after graduation. How can I contribute, okay, to our alumni from Tokyo? Yeah, so I'm thinking like maybe it would be good that for the data AI, which I have been working on, and then I have been talking to some of our alumni already offline and try to learn from them. I really appreciate this opportunity, and then can have this discussion, okay, with our NBS alumni and some other alumni as well. So I prepared some slides, that's true, but usually I do not want to go with the slide that I prepare. I want to make it relevant for everyone, okay? And I think some of the content may be very, very relevant for Prof. Go, but I think we need to care about the room as well. So what I will do is, yes, he says the first thing is important for healthcare, and you understand. Probably let me stand up. So you will understand why. Okay, I will talk about this data privacy topic later on when I talk about AI in healthcare. Okay, so I will give you 1 minute. Okay, to read it. By the way, this is recorded. Okay, yeah. Yeah, basically, yeah. So that's about the disclaimer, okay, about the industry I've been working. But still, I will try to make it informal and helpful for your career or for your area that you are interested in, okay? So this agenda, but before I talk about it, I want to ask, which part do you want to hear, okay, so that I can allocate my time. So if you can only choose one, okay? Yeah, don't ever, I mean, it's like one choice. Which one you want me to talk to? Let's say people who choose number 1. Wow, basic AI. Look like we have very, very mature audience who have know about this AI a lot, and maybe you are thinking about something else about the AI. Are you going to publish a paper? Thanks. How about second one, healthcare? Yeah. Third one, sorry. Okay. Then second one, AI. Okay, basic. It's about what is AI eventually. You have been hearing a lot of buzzwords here and there. What is the AI, right? And what it is? Why it is so important? Why I need to know it? What will happen if I know nothing about it? And how? Okay, if I know it, right? So this is about AI, basic. If you're interested, raise your hand. Okay. Third one, healthcare. How you apply AI in healthcare, assuming you have some basic knowledge about AI, and then you understand, okay, why it's helpful, okay, for the healthcare. Okay, around half. Transformation, business transformation. Wow. Yeah. It's like, it's around 60 or 70%. Okay, then I'm going to allocate my time a little bit, okay? And I will talk about some example using AI in healthcare, like HCP engagement, patient support, how to deliver high quality information, okay? To patient, to HCP, and between them, for example, okay? And then transformation, okay? It's all about people, 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 okay? And then when technology and people, and then you think about process as well. Great. About myself, okay, I've been doing data and AI all my career. That's the only thing that I know. I used to work in KDDI, and then manufacturing, telecommunication, finance, and now healthcare. Different industry, but same focus, data and AI. Makes sense from it, okay? And I'm going to skip some, okay, by the way, my interest is snowboarding. Okay, I think I shared with you just now why I stay here for a long time, because I really love the winter in Japan. I got stuck because the beautiful snow in this country. Yeah. Great. So the first question I want to ask is like, when you think about AI, right, in your company, some of our alumni, okay, is the AI really transforming your business? Has it bring a new model for you to generate revenue, or is just automating faster? I want to hear some comment, okay? What's your feeling? Yeah. Is it, or do you feel it's just automating faster of your daily work, or it's actually transforming? Yeah. No? Okay. So what I have been hearing is like we have been working with AI and then end up with a lot of POC, okay? Doing experiment here and there, and then not really scale, and then create a new stream of revenue, for example, okay? And then, but I think this is a very, very important question for everyone working in this field to understand, okay? And then you may start with like automating faster, and then you think about how to generate value in terms of you transform the organization, okay? I will leave this question here. Hopefully, after this session, you will be able to have the answer for this one. And I hope this is the takeaway for you by investing around 40 minutes in this session. Yeah. So this one I'm going to skip because, as I mentioned, the first part may be not so important, but I want to quickly highlight what's the difference between AI system and non-AI system. AI, basically, you allowed AI to make mistake. You will not get angry if you feel a recommendation, okay, the book, right, it's not really my favor. Why is it over there? But you feel it's okay. But you feel very, very angry. You complain. If you use your Suica or Passmo in Japan, the gate does not open, okay? You go to the stuff and say, what's going on? So this one is really 100% automation. And this one is based on statistical model. You are okay to accept some uncertainty fundamentally. And this one is quite important when you try to implement AI in your business to allow some uncertainty, because fundamentally it is something like this, okay? So this one I'm going to skip, but because it's so fun, when you use it to explain to your business, usually you start with this one. For the people who really do not want to listen to you, for example, you can tell them why this is important. Because if you look at data, you look at the correlation, okay? Yeah. What does it mean? Okay, sales of the ice cream and the number of shock attacks. What does it mean, right? And actually, you want to understand why. It's because of temperature, right? The temperature connect the two data points you are seeing. That's the science behind the business. So whenever you are trying to implement AI, you're trying to understand what is the business problem you want to solve. And then it helps you land, okay? You help you transform, okay? Great, and then you apply it, okay? You can use it to predict the sales. You might want to predict your next salary if you want to do so, yeah. Use your education data, whatever data, your current pay, for example, and try to do it for your own. Okay, use case, for example, retail, real estate, energy, depends on which sector you are in. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to learn more about the use case here, okay? Next one, Hyun's presentation, okay, should I join? Okay, I look at this email from NTU alumni, should I go? Unfortunately, I did not provide this information about the number of slides in my presentation and whether I have used a lot of a carton, okay. But if I provide, probably, yeah, I don't know, okay, what will be the decision boundary here, okay. So it is helpful in terms of you can try to do some classification, and then it's very typical application, okay. So this one, I like it. One of my favorite slides. Gen AI, okay, ChatGPT. How many of you use ChatGPT? Everyone, right? Okay, let me change. How many of you haven't tried ChatGPT? Oh, great. I want to ask questions later on to understand why you haven't tried. Yeah, but give it a try. Good. So this one is like Gen AI LLM, right? It used to be very difficult to understand. What does it mean? Why suddenly? AI has been there for many years. Why suddenly it's become so popular and why it's so important, right? If you look at it from a different angle, I think you try. If you haven't tried ChatGPT for our alumni, I think you try Google search. Okay, you type something. Okay, you type NT, because we are ranking like 22, right, globally. I'm pretty sure the third letter should be U. Okay, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Assuming a lot of people have been searching it for a while recently. Yeah. So it's basically a fancy version of autocomplete. It just keeps completing the word that you type in, and then it generates a whole article for you. It generates a whole code for you. It generates use case for you. It generates basically any binary thing that can be recognized by computer. Okay, that's the basic of the, and you just convert it into a computer, and then you make it run automatically. Okay. And this one probably you want to know a little bit as a basic, so that you can understand the healthcare session later on. Traditional software, logic, they find it. AI software, you have the data from the user. What does it mean? Okay, it means whatever software you build, you have the user's data coming into the software. The user's data privacy, okay, become part of your software. It evolves with your software, okay. And then you need to be very careful about how are you going to store the data? What is the ownership of this new software when everyone contributes to it? Okay, so this is something you want to remember. Okay. Great, healthcare. Finally, this is the second session. Okay, finally we talk about this, and I'm going to sit down a little bit, and then drink water. I will start with a simple one in terms of patient support. Okay, forget the slide. Okay, listen to me. I read articles about the no-show appointment rate. I'm not talking about this event. I'm pretty sure the no-show rate for this event should be very low. Okay, I see this a full house here. What I'm talking about is the patient no-show. Okay, the number last year I think is around $150 billion US. It costs this amount of dollar to U.S. healthcare system annually. Okay, let me read you the number: $150 billion US because of no show. Yeah, so the patient doesn't show up, and then something that you prepare, and then everything got canceled. It's a big opportunity. Okay, and then there was a company I think in Silicon Valley last year, and then they developed a AI solution. Basically, send this smart reminder. Yeah, 3 hours before or even 4 hours before. And then remember, there's a appointment. Okay, you either do you want to cancel or do you want to reschedule or anything else. Okay, even this very tiny one. Okay, using AI, try to capture the patient's data or maybe the hospital's data. It actually saves a lot of cost, I would say, and also actually it reminds the patient to get the medication in a timely manner. Otherwise, the patient, the disease may get worsened. Okay, so I think this is one typical example. Another example is the quality of care. What does it mean? One typical complaint, okay, or a feedback from patient is they spend so less time with doctor. 15 minutes Okay. How can we maximize the quality of the conversation between a patient and doctor, given 15 minutes only? Okay. In Japan, I think they changed this doctor's walk-in time last year. It's like they have a more strict regulation on this. It means that there's no point for you to insist to kind of go over 15 minutes, for example, right? I mean, then you think about, as mentioned by Prof. Go, right? How can we use technology to maximize the quality? So two things we may want to do. First one is, I think there's also a startup, they're trying this experiment. 1 day or 2 days before the 15 minutes with the doctor, and then you send, for example, a video or whatever, explaining, okay, what should the patient expect in the conversation, what he or she should know about the past medication or the medication so far, okay. And then the patient can go to visit the doctor with well-prepared kind of status and well-informed, okay. Come with the questions. And then they fully utilize the 15 minutes. And after that, there will be an automatic follow-up video summarizing the conversation, and then keep reminding for example, the medication after that, okay? And then maybe for another follow-up as well. And this one can also help to maximize the quality of the care, okay? And then I can talk about a little bit more about how you generate content. And this is the Gen AI, how Gen AI plays a role, because it generates content, okay, based on limited required prompt, for example, okay? You can use it before the visit and after the visit, okay? And this all applies not only between patient and doctor, but also apply to the healthcare provider, like medical affair professional or even medical representative. And it helps deliver the high quality information to the doctor and the other way around. And then I will talk about this scenario for another angle later on about the culture transformation. It's not about this maximize efficiency, but also change the culture. Okay. Yeah. So I will talk about this one a little bit. The Fuse Force coach. Okay. This one, the last one. This one you might want to apply the same principle to other industry, not limited to healthcare, because I observed some of our participants there from other industry. Okay. What does it mean? Okay, I talked to a alumni just now who is from HR. Okay, so actually he showed this great interest about this. Coaching. Okay, how confident you are when you are coaching your member, right? You have like one regular one-on-one. Okay, are you still doing like, okay, what we discussed last time? Okay, yeah. Why not you store all your one-on-one in the system? Tell me, what should I do? What should I tell my member in our next one-on-one? Let's say coming in 30 minutes, okay? And then as your member, you also kind of ask the AI, for example, based on my historical conversation with my manager, what should be the questions? What should be the support that I ask? And this does not apply only for healthcare. It's in general for coaching, for your health Salesforce, for example, or even Euro HR area. Okay, and the beauty of this is like you basically usually. I want to mention about this Asian population concern in Japan. 1/3 of the population in this country is around 65 and above. 1/3. Okay, you can do the calculation on your own. Yeah. Some of them, for example, recently there's a massive retirement, okay, of this age group. How do you keep those very, very valuable knowledge and experience in the system? Okay, imagine you want to talk to a very, very talented engineers back to 20 years ago who built like the first car or whatever in Toyota, for example, right? If those knowledge is in the system, you can do the query, you can ask, right? When you design that one, what you are thinking, right? Why you have this brilliant idea, right? It's like we are virtual senpai. Senpai is a senior in Japanese, right? You're virtual senpai. I really like this idea, yeah. And I think it's applicable for every industry. Okay, so I will talk about a little bit how later on. Okay, we thought about, yeah, I think I want to do something after this event. I want to propose to my manager, or I propose to my leadership. I want to get like $1 million to start a POC for next 3 months, right? How can we do that, right? It really depends on the industry and how big is your team and what problem you want to resolve. Typically, there are 3 types, okay? 3 types. Taker. Taker is more like you have a software in your PC. Like, have you tried, let me ask another question. Have you tried Microsoft Copilot? Who have tried Microsoft Copilot? It's a Microsoft product. 1/3, okay. That's the typical use case of Taker, okay? It's an AI tool, and ChatGPT is also a Taker. You just use it as it is, okay? Simple for an individual. But let's assume you have like 500 members organization. Your member asking the same question every day. What you want to do is like you try to automate that part, okay? And then you have like 1 or 2 engineers, or you work with a provider. Try to automate this process a little bit. You do not create a totally new thing, but you leverage the existing tool, but you customize a little bit for your needs. And then this is, we call it shaper, okay? And if you go a little bit further, is I think you have, for example, use a ChatGPT, right? If you ask your ChatGPT, for example, what is my weakness? I'm not very sure whether you try or not, yeah. Tell me my 3 weaknesses, okay, something like that, okay, yeah, or my 3 strengths. What does it mean? It's like actually the AI, you keep using it and then it becomes more personalized, right? And then you can also try to personalize and customize the AI for your organization or for your team. And maybe you build a domain-specific AI, okay, for you. Yeah, so that one. And finally, is the maker. Maker, I think, is very big. DeepSeek is the typical maker. Okay, it's kind of it really turn over the game a little bit, and then very, very new, very low cost. That's really for big tech company. So I think the strategy is like depends on the size. A small size, you go with this one. Medium size, you look at this one, and then you for some of the low priority topic, you can go with the taker, and you also observe the big tech, the makers trend, what they are going to build in the next 2 years, and then you wait there for a while, and then you can plug in immediately. That's the strategy some of the companies are taking in the industry. Okay, so finally I want to say it's like AI transformation is not a tech initiative. It's really a business, okay? I will talk about this later on, is because eventually AI and other tools, it is to amplify the human capability. Yeah. Okay. So it is a business capability, and it should be led by, for example, your CEO, your business leader. It should not be led by technology. Yeah. You do not start with the tool. You start with the proper business problem statement. Okay, first. And then finally, I want to talk about this culture and talent a little bit, okay, as my this 3rd session. I will start with the example that I mentioned just now about the conversation between, let's say, patient and doctor, and let's say sales and your customer, for example. If you think about a customer call center, for example, right? Yeah. I don't know, do you have any experience when you pick up a phone, right? Probably when you say that, okay, the following phone will be recorded. Well, I don't know. It's like, at least it triggers the alert in my brain a little bit. I need to speak right. I need to be very, very careful. No, this really depends, right? Depends on the topic. But if it's really your work, let's assume you are not the customer. You are from the other side. Okay, you know this will be recorded. Let's forget whether the AI learned from it or not. Let's forget all this technology. It's just recorded. You become more disciplined. And that's exactly some of the feedback we kind of receive. It's like, now I know there's a technology, a system, and then they have a new process. I should be more prepared for my work. And you change the culture in a very interesting way. Yeah. So what you can see is the talent, you bring the talent, even we talk about data scientists, okay? I think some of you in your daily work, maybe you hear about this idea. It's like, let's do AI, let's get data scientists as the first step. And what I'm gonna say is like, that's maybe just very, very limited amount of the thing that you need to do in terms of the capability, okay? You have the right people, and then you also need to pair your existing people. If you think about the bell curve, okay, you have a majority of your existing employee, okay? Now you are bringing new capability. You do not want this new capability to be absorbed with the existing one. You want them to transform them, right? So then you need to have pair them. You build up your internal capability, and then let's say you hire an external, and then you put them together in an organic way. And then that's why you need to define the governance and partnership, ways of working, etc. And then something that I observe is like, especially in Japan, I believe, I observe one strength, a very, very unique one, is the execution. Okay, once your team understand why. I spend like 90% of my time to explain the why. Yeah. But once you explain the why, they understand. Well, they will just execute, yeah, according to the structure, the process, or guidance, etc. Yeah. So for me, if we can articulate this AI transformation, is mainly for build the capability of the employee, for example. It helped a lot in terms of the rollout. Okay. I'll skip this one. And risk, okay, hallucination, etc. I think, as I mentioned just now, fundamentally, it is a statistic problem. Okay, as long as you accept the fact, you remember this one, usually it will be easier for you to plan the issue that you may be facing. Okay, there are some solutions here, but it's too detailed. I'm going to skip it in case there's any questions. Finally, okay, data is important. Yeah, I think you have been hearing about this. I want to mention one point, okay, one of the big lesson learned. We say we need a lot of data. What does it really mean? A lot of data. A simple term, okay. If you look at a table, okay, column and row, okay, for your data. You do not want to have a lot of columns in your data. You want to have a lot of rows in your data. Think about it. Means that you need to have a lot of samples in your data, but you do not want to have a lot of a dimension in your data, because more dimensions mean you have a lot of uncertainty. You do not know which important factor you are looking at, but more sample is much more important. And I observe for some of the transformation process, different teams have different understanding on this, and then this cross-functional collaboration, the alignment on what does it really mean for their daily work. It's very, very important in terms of data, okay? And then problem statement, we talk about it, human in the loop, I think you understand, and then I talk about it, cross-functional. Another one is like some of company, we talk about ROI, okay? Sometimes for this business transformation, it's quite difficult to measure the ROI. Another thing, concern is about the moment when you try to measure something with a KPI, people may try to check the box without understanding why they are doing this. And it actually brings a very negative impact to your transformation process. Yeah. Probably you experienced this before. Yeah. If like, for example, if my KPI is going to cover 30 minutes, I would just keep saying I cover 30 minutes. But if my KPI is try to ensure 80% of my audience can repeat what I said just now. Okay, there will be another one, if, for example, if I want to achieve. Okay, and then it becomes a mindset. Okay, it's a new skill, and then it's a new capability. Finally, the final one, I hope my time is okay, is that if there's one question I do not want to ask ChatGPT. Yeah, what will be the question? I do not want to ask. So the question that I will never want to ask ChatGPT is, do you care about me? But today I'm going to ask this question, not to ChatGPT, but to one person in this room. That will be my mother over there. Mama, can you come over? Yeah. So, people's relationship, okay, empathy, for example, emotion connection, etc. My learning, okay, during my more than 10 years or maybe 15 years data and AI journey is there's something you do not want to put into the system. And that's why I really need someone I can ask, do you care about me? And I want to say happy Mother's Day this Sunday. I hope that you can spend time with your loved one. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peng, for the interesting talk that we have. The timing was fantastic as well. We are 30 minutes, as earlier mentioned. We open out to the floor. Any questions, anyone that have directed to the issue about healthcare and AI to the speaker? Anyone? You can just raise your hand. Don't be shy. In the university, we say you need to have class participation. Of course, most of you are alumni now. Anyone? Yes. Say yes.
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
Sally. I'm from SU Dialogue program. So I want to know, like, how's your product? Is it for the pension, like who are looking for the doctor, and then they can ask in advance, and how's your business model based your idea?
Thank you. As mentioned in the disclaimer, I might be able to share my own product, but what I can do is I shape it into as its principle, okay? Yeah. So it could be a tool, for example, a system in your company, okay? For example, assume you are a marketer, okay? You are trying to launch a new product to the market. Let's assume there's no competitor yet. It's totally new product. And you think that there might be, let's say in Japan, 10 million users potentially, okay? And then you send out 10 sales people, okay, talk to them. How do you get the market sentiments about this type of product within 2 days? How? You have 10 sales reps, okay, or sales people going to your potential customer. How do you know? One potential idea is like they talk to the potential customer, they take the notes of the conversation, put it in the system, and then your tool, basically, you can ask questions directly, how positive it is. And this is one of the fast way for you to have your own tool to get the market insight within 24 hours or even within 2 days, much faster than the traditional market research, where you wait for consultant firm, for example, and then you do a lot of survey. Yeah. That's one example. Yeah. Did I answer your question about the products? It could be a tool, and then you ask question.
Any other questions? Yes. Yeah.
My question is very simple. I would like to ask you the question you give us. Do you think AI is transformation or automation? Is it better automation? Because why I am asking this question is in some examples you gave in your speech. For example, the doctor need to see the patient within 50 minutes. AI can be helpful in this situation. However, based on my own experience, even there was no AI. The doctor and the hospitals in Japan did the same thing. For example, I can remember maybe 10 years ago when I went to the clinic or hospital, I will be given a paper, and before seeing the doctor, and to check, are you have any are you taking any other medicine or something like that? All the information I will need to write on the paper and pass to the doctor before I can get into the doctor's room. And maybe 5 years ago, this kind of process become available online. For example, I make some reservation to see my daughter, and I will be led aside and to write down all the information about myself and what's happening this time online, and the doctor can check this online. But nowadays we have AI, so I mean, it looks like we are doing the same thing. We are using AI to doing the same thing. The essence are totally the same. I cannot see any difference here. So in my opinion, in this example, AI is just like a better automation, just more than a transformation. So what do you think?
Yes,
That's my question.
I think in this example, it's typical, just automating faster. Yeah, it does not change the business fundamentally. Yeah, that's true. But the beauty of doing this is now you have more structured data. You do not have like messy data and then you try to clean it up. Now you have a system. It's more like you have a box, well-defined box. Now you allow the information to flow in a structured way. In that case, you can build a kind of, you can get the insight of the patients. What you can do for the drug discovery is you try to anticipate, for example, some disease progression. Yeah. And then some pharma company, for example, they can invest on the R&D in advance based on the data. Yeah. And AI now can play a role here, try to do the screening, okay, of the potential drug when they try to build a new drug, for example, based on this. In your use case, yes, I don't think that it is transforming the business itself and it does not change your ways of working, but at the back end, yeah, maybe there's another way. For example, drug company, they're thinking how to leverage data for their drug discovery innovation. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Yeah.
Thank you very much. By the way, my name is Sean Chen, and I graduated from the Nanyang Waseda double degree MBA. And in addition to that question and what you just mentioned about the pharmaceutical industry, actually I used to work for pharmaceutical industry as the global project manager for American clinical research organization. So I would like to hear more about the cases you just mentioned, how AI can benefit for this industry. Because in the past, we were creating some software to do the randomization, to analyze the data, or to manage the sites and the delivery of the medicine to the hospitals. Can you please give me more examples in this industry, more AI thing, rather than a very traditional IT or software? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's two things, right? Yeah, I don't think people start with AI. Okay, as I mentioned just now, it really depends on what business problem you want to solve. For example, drug discovery, right? The business problem AI want to solve is if I do the combination of molecular manually, okay, I need an army, like 10 employees, for example, doing the experiment again and again and again. And AI help you, okay, try to automate this process, okay. Yeah, that's one typical example first, okay. So again, this is one example. This is point number one, okay. Point number two is about the culture transformation, okay. How people think in a more systematic way. One example is like if you have this kind of continual learning mindset, as mentioned at the beginning of this session, you have this mindset and then you try to put the data in a systematic way with the expectation and a statistical model I call AI just now, for example. We try to learn from your data, you try to put in. Let's forget data or let's forget AI or tool. But when as a people, you do something in a more systematic way, compare to another group does not do it in a systematic way, we will feel there should be a difference in terms of these two groups. I personally feel different. Yeah, one will be more organized, one less organized. There's no AI, okay? There's no tool. It doesn't matter. But you use a tool or a expectation of a new tool, you transfer the culture and ways of working. And that's how I observe some successful stories already. Yeah, because of this transformation. Did I answer your question? Yeah. One is that you automate process, yes. Second is like when during this process and practice, you transform the culture, and then the culture actually transforms business rather than the tool itself. Thanks.
I'd like to continue our conversation later.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a good topic. Thanks.
Gentleman in the back. Yeah.
Hi, Steve Monahan. I was at NTU Wharton. A Caltech professor who runs the NVIDIA AI lab recently said that the one skill that AI can't replace is curiosity. And if you look at IBM Watson, which is a very early iteration, which focused exclusively on healthcare, or primarily on healthcare, it failed miserably. And one of the reasons was indeed curiosity, and the second was that it had to be conservative in its output all the time, or otherwise that it would run all sorts of legal lawsuits, etc. So how do you see, is curiosity the only limitation of AI? And what do you view as other major limitations? And how do you see industry transforming now, given some of the macro limitations that go around it, legal, etc.?
Sorry, what's the second question?
How do you see the limitations? If you ask an AI,
Yeah.
what's its limitations, it basically refers to its programmers.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're placing limitations
Yes.
around that, and that's often for legal and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
So what do you see as the biggest challenge
Yeah.
in moving to transformation? You can't
Yeah.
do transformation without curiosity,
Yeah.
and you
Agree.
can't do transformation if you're prohibited from transformation
Yeah.
through constraint.
Yeah, agree. Thanks. Yeah, I think the first question is about curiosity, right? Will curiosity become a limitation of the AI? Because for human, naturally, you have curiosity, but for AI, fundamentally, it does not, right? I think that's the first question. Yeah. Yes, I think that's true. Yeah, that's the limitation of AI in terms of a curiosity about the things that an AI system has never learned before. How can it ask a question that it never learned before, right? So I mean that is. I think AI definitely, like any other tool, it has limitation. Yeah. But my comment about this point is, AI actually help people become, some of our people become more curious by asking good questions. Yeah. So for example, brainstorming for anything, all right? Is you want to think about a session, you think about a name, for example. It's like creativity, for example. People like AI, it may not have creativity as well, right? But it can assist human to amplify the human's capability in terms of being creative. Yeah. And I think more importantly, similar to any other tool, it simplifies some of the tedious process. And then the human can focus more on this value creation. That's how I see the value. I try to see the value of the AI rather than the limitation. But it definitely have the limitation, that's for sure. Yeah. Did I answer your question about the limitation of AI about curiosity?
Maybe let me add to that. I guess there's also a series of, I wouldn't say it's a limitation of the technology, but more of the shortcomings of the impact on society. See, as you look at education, right? Because we are from education sector, with a tool like that, it helps individuals solve problems, right? But it sort of impedes learning, because there are multiple studies who have looked at how AI help individuals who are relatively mediocre in leveling up their skills, but it does not really help experts in leveling up further beyond that. And I think that probably has an impact. You probably wouldn't see it now, but probably in the next decade or so, where you start to see younger individuals, kids, learning using this tool, and as they are using the tool to solve problems, they are not exactly learning, and that might result in a whole series of issues down the road.
May I add to? Because it's probabilistic, it's always going to knock out the outlier. So if you have Einstein with an opinion off to the side and no one knows who Einstein is, then obviously you're going to wipe out the outlier, right? So you run the risk of actually gravitating to the average.
Yep.
So you're going to get the dumber smarter, but the smarter dumber.
Yes.
So, and that's one of the big challenges. But how do you see, sorry, there's one more thing. because it's probabilistic, is as you go back in history to many of the constraints under which previous pharmaceuticals were made or financial assumptions were made, a lot of those constraints no longer exist in the digital world, but they're programmed that the vast majority of data that goes out around them incorporates that data, and that becomes probabilistically high versus someone that wants to challenge one core constraint from in ancient history. For instance, if I said to you, would you plan your business around the lunar cycle? You would just say, you're crazy, right? Everything in our banking system is based around 30 days, 360 days a year. There aren't 360 days a year. We were limited by lunar cycle, 29.5 days, law. So in 449 BC, the Romans actually put the 30-day cycle into law. And then you had the abacus, which was a constraint from 2500 BC to 1650, which was before our financial system came in 1397 in Italy. Now, those constraints persist to this day, and no one challenges those constraints, and an AI has no idea about anything about that prior because there's very small amounts of data, which goes back to curiosity. Unless you're curious about that data, you'll never uncover it. So how do you see that changing from an AI perspective? What does it take to start making AI smarter and moving away from an average to something that's actually additive?
Yeah, well, it's definitely very, very challenging, right? Because fundamental AI based on data, but now you have a level, as you mentioned, very limited data for this unknown space. One thing that you have been doing is like they try to try to augment some of the very weak signal, but this one could be also very biased because you try to augment something that might not be true, all right? And this is definitely, yeah, a challenge, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Any questions anymore? Yes. No. Okay. No.
Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe our MC for the day has a question. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Dr. Haiyang. And I have a question because you mentioned that one trait of the LLM is the ambiguity, the uncertainties. But with the application in healthcare or pharmaceutical industries, because it's about humans' lives or very large R&D expenses or very long period, so it doesn't allow much room for the gray area or the ambiguity. So in real life, how to mitigate such risk and dilemma?
Thanks. That's a very good question, very critical. And this is relevant to the governance piece that I put into transformation. One principle, very important one, is eventually human taking the accountability in terms of decision making. Okay, you do not allow AI to make decisions for you. That's a principle. Okay, it helps you, it provides something in front of you, it helps you collect the information, but if eventually, whatever AI system, yeah, is human. It's kind of a self-driving car. Eventually, yeah, it's a human. Did I answer your question? Yeah. Yeah, it's human making final decision, take full accountability, and then look at the ambiguity, and then you understand the risk, and then you decide, should I take the risk or not? What's the risk profile? Yeah.
Yeah, I think also on the topic of governance, it's also quite interesting to look at how different regimes around the world are also looking at that. Right? If you look at the case of there are probably 3 different ways in which countries around the world are governing AI. Right, you have one which is market related, which is the US. Right, US believe in market forces. Of course, with all the geopolitical thing that's going on, market forces sort of determine who governs AI. Right, maybe Elon Musk. Then, of course, you have the European version, which sort of advocates more on human rights, right, privacy, right, and of course, you would have also other nations which also believe in more of a state governance of AI, right? I think it's probably a mix of all these 3. So, what are your views? I mean, for example, for Japan, I mean, what do you think? In what direction are they moving towards? Is it more market, more state, or is it more privacy?
Yeah, what I've observed recently, healthcare is all, I mean, compared to other industry in Japan, right? In terms of AI technology, data privacy, it's definitely lag behind other industry because of this sensitivity of data. That's general, okay? One trend I observe about this governance, about data privacy, especially in healthcare, is by 2030 in Japan, Japan governments, they are going to establish a nationwide healthcare data system, okay, fully owned and managed by the central government. Yeah, and I think that hopefully can open up some space. Yeah, and then of course they will take care of the kind of removing the sensitive, the personal identifying information, for example, and then to make sure that they only provide the bare minimum information, not about an individual, but about a cohort, for example, for business to make decision. Okay, yeah. So I think that's the trend that I observe. Yeah, it's going to the market. I think they are trying to take a more balanced approach.
Question at back. Yeah.
He raised his hand first.
Oh, sorry. I got the order wrong. Thank you. We need an AI system to help me.
Hi, sorry, I think my question might have some overlap with the previous question, but okay, I'm from the financial services, so my question is that it's going to be a very dull one. How do you make sure that your AI implementation is regulatory compliant, or rather, how do you convince regulators that your AI implementations are compliant?
Thank you for the question. I understand the question. I'm trying to just to clarify. When you say compliance, like in healthcare sector or like in finance sector for your space? Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's kind of similar to my answer just now. First, two things, right? Eventually, it's human making decision. Okay, you need to understand, the risk, and you explain, okay, to your compliance officer, for example, like why you are making this decision with the assistant from the AI. Yeah. So how to make sure that's point number one. Okay, that's a principle. And the second one I think is try to ensure the transparency. Okay, how you implement it, who is doing that, where's your data, what's the risk, and just describe everything. And then eventually, at least I think I mentioned about cross-functional decision making as well. So you try to get the perspective from different angles as much as possible, and then eventually human decision. Yeah, and I do not see this is more like AI specific. Yeah, it's just as a computation tool. It has this risk, and it just changed the risk profile a little bit. Yeah, that's my view.
Maybe let me add, not more from the perspective of Japan, but more from Singapore, because when you work with hospitals in Singapore in terms of compliance, one of the challenges that many of the chief compliance officers have is that they are saying essentially the firm that we are working on the bridge as we build it, right? Because things are evolving. And from the perspective of compliance, I guess there is one issue here, unlike I think as earlier as Dr. Peng has mentioned, like when you look at algorithms that were built using the traditional methods, if someone will come and audit it, right, the parameters does not change, right? And so you can have firms coming in that I can certify it's okay and so on. But when you look at generative AI, the problem is that these algorithms keep evolving. If you get a third-party vendor to come and say audit it, and the third-party vendor be the assurance services company, will they be willing to put their name behind that? Because it keeps evolving, and it becomes very challenging. In fact, one of the things that is happening is that if you look in the next 5 years or 10 years, this part of the business of verifying, validating, assurance is big business. It's big business for audit firms, right, and insurance companies, because this is something that no one knows the solution. I mean, it's a tough question you're asking. I can tell you all the chief data protection officers and governance officers, they are questioning themselves. I don't think that the answer is actually out there yet, because it's actually an area which is sort of growing and emerging.
Good evening, I'm Nadia. My question is, okay, I have to say I'm not from like a medical or tech background, so disclaimer there. My question is, so in the medical system as it is, discrimination on the basis of, say, gender or medical bias based on ethnicity or racial background, that is a thing that is, I mean, whether you like to admit it or not, it exists, right? So I'm wondering how, since AI uses like existing data sets and may already have built-in biases in them, how can AI either mitigate these issues? How can they be used to mitigate these issues in the future? Or can you, like some applications that you already know of to kind of address those? Or do you think that they may kind of perpetuate those biases and problems because of the existing structures and systems in place? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, a short answer is, thank you for raising the question, is typical, okay? And I think there are like meetings after meetings talking about this. Yeah. So, and then a short answer is like keep monitoring, yeah, as much as possible. Yeah. Thank you. It's a good question, and it continues basically, yeah, and it evolves very, very fast. And then I add a bit more is like we are also trying to use technology as well, try to extract keywords, for example, and try to understand risk as much as possible. And also eventually it's like try not to touch on the very sensitive and very critical decision-making process. Yeah. Again, and the final principle is like any tool, including AI, is to help amplify people capability and ability. Yeah, rather than making quick decision on behalf of human. I don't think that's the principle. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Thank you. That's a great one.
Hi, my name is Hasif. I'm from EY Consulting. My question is, with the recent advancements in AI, specifically agentic AI, where you stitch together or weave together a few AI agents, right? How do you see this changing the way we design and develop AI projects and POCs?
I think the question is about how the agentic AI, okay, yeah, right. It's basically AI, building AI, I guess, transform this AI development, right? Yeah, I think the fundamental is the same as I presented just now, okay? And all the existing problems are there, except it's just more complicated, okay? Yeah, about AI. One thing that is interesting is like previously, like ChatGPT, it just gives you this idea. It chats, okay? It just chat. It does not do the thing for you. It asks you to do more thing. And then naturally, you're thinking like agentic AI is like whether it can accomplish some task for you, okay? And then potential risk is like if you allow something, a machine, to accomplish a task for you, there may be a risk in terms of you are feeling that there's an invasion, okay, to your, especially action taken, for example. So I think it definitely triggered a more massive kind of concern about the potential risk, not just the chat window, but actually some behavior, for example, yeah. And I think that one, at least, I think it's a bit area in terms of the define the risk, etc. But that's a good question. And I think in terms of the benefit, in the software development, okay, it contributes a lot. So previously, you have like 5 different roles in a small company, for example, develop software. But now with the agentic AI, you can basically one people software engineer. It can do almost everything with agentic AI because all the codes and documents, etc. Even the marketing material can be generated by agentic AI. So, but I think fundamentally, it is just a more efficient AI tool for now, I guess, yeah. But trigger more unforeseen risks. Okay, thanks.
All right, I think thank you very much for our last question. And based on the schedule, I'm supposed to wrap this up. And I'll give some final comments to this, right? So I guess today we have an interesting talk on this very important topic. I guess as you can see from all the discussion we had today, I think the whole idea of what exactly AI is still a huge question, right? I think many of you who have taken my class before in the past, I used to end my class with 4 pictures. I'm not sure you can remember. If you cannot, typically the message is, if you do ask any man in the street what exactly AI is, right? If I ask you, is a calculator AI? Some folks will say, yeah, I don't think so, right? Is self-driving car AI? Many folks will say, yeah, it is, right? But if you were to take the calculator and you travel back in time 500 years ago, and you ask someone, is a calculator an AI? And someone will say, yeah, I think maybe so, because I cannot do a logarithm without a device, right? I mean, you have to use a logbook. So for that matter, is what happens to a general public, to a man in the street. AI is something that's progressing, right? That I think as human and mankind feels that, no, it cannot be solved using computational tools that we have today. Right. As a result, what happens? There's also a lot of misunderstanding, and there's a lot of of uncertainty of what exactly it is. And especially in these times where you start to see data being generated by systems themselves, and it becomes highly complicated in the whole area of governance, use, and so on. Right. I think the questions about, does it affect creativity? Does it reduce, for example, diversity in opinion? Does it perpetuate biases? The answer is yes. Right. Humans are also probably guilty of those, right? But the very fact is that humans can always hide behind the fact that we have gut feel, but machines cannot, right? As machines, we always want there's always absolute without any possibility of error, right? And I think we hold machines to a much higher standard than we have held human standards to ourselves, right? We can say, hey, it's an error, it's human error, but machines, we tend not to say that machines have error. So I think that's a quick wrap up for this session that we have today. Thank you very much for Dr. Peng for his interesting talk. And we hope to see you again next year in an alumni event. Thanks.
All right. Many thanks to Dr. Haiyang's sharing, Dr. Go's moderation, and all the quality questions from our audience. And as we come to the end of the Nanyang Alumni Leaders Talk, may I have Dr. Chung here to present the tokens of appreciation to our guest speakers.
This is a bigger one, must be for the speaker.